sex. Do it. Do it a lot. Often. With anyone. If you're not doing it, you're a loser. You know, these are the types of things that I hear a lot about the subject these days. I've also received a bunch of emails and texts about the question, and I really want to talk about it in a way that most people don't these days. I got an email from Emily that reads, "Hey Frank, what are your thoughts on sex? It seems like everybody I know claims that it's important to have sex before marriage because if you're gonna buy a car, you gotta test drive it first. What are your thoughts on this?" Now, first things first, I want to clear up two very important things. The first thing is that sex is awesome. And the second thing is that I have never had it. He's a loser. Now, some of you are gonna ask, how can this guy say anything about the subject and even say it's awesome if he's never had it before? Now, before I get into that, I know some of these internet trolls are gonna come out and say,
he's a virgin, he's Asian, he must have a small
foot. So before you post that hater comment, I just want to say, why don't you come say that to my face? And then I can cook you dinner so we can talk about it. But in all seriousness, to answer the question, I think that sex belongs in a real committed relationship. And what better than a marriage? And that's what I want to ask all of you. For those of you that are willing to share, do you wish you had waited longer? And why or why not? So to start off, I just want to clear up a couple things that sex is and isn't. Number one, it's fun and it feels good. I mean, that's the biggest reason why everybody talks about it and everybody wants it, right? But that directly ties to number two. It's special. And I think that's one of the points that a lot of people struggle with and a lot of people refuse to admit. Everybody agrees that it's fun, but a lot of people will not admit that it's special. And unfortunately, it's not the same as other fun activities like, you know, playing a game or hanging out with friends. And your first time in particular is extra special. It's something that everybody remembers for their entire life. And far too many people remember it as,
so this party and I got smashed and there's this girl like all dancing upon me.
And the third thing about sex that a lot of people don't recognize is that it actually costs something. You either pay for it emotionally or through commitment. And by emotionally, I mean you either get attached to the person or it ever so slightly numbs you for the next one, making it mean less and less for each subsequent person that you get to do it with until eventually it just becomes an act in itself. Basically do it just to have fun.
Hit me again! Hit me again!
It's like the you're putting on a pedestal argument. Basically, why are you making it so special and so high and mighty, and why are you glorifying it so much? It's just like a normal act. And that's exactly the kind of attitude that develops when you start having it too often with too many people. It ceases to be special and becomes just another ordinary daily routine act. On the flip side though, you either pay for it emotionally or through commitment. And I think that commitment is something that is far undervalued and underappreciated today. There's too much of the hit it and quit it,
Toot it and boot it,
smash it and dash it. Which all cheapens sex as an expression of love between two people. Now, for things that sex is not, it is not a way to keep your boyfriend with you. I got this anonymous text message from somebody in San Diego. "I love my boyfriend and he loves me. I want to have sex with him so that I can keep him and make him mine and that he'll never leave me." First of all, if someone really loves somebody else, they won't pressure them into something like that. And secondly, giving him that part of you is not a sure way to keep him. His decision to stay is his and his alone. Secondly, in my opinion, I don't think it's something that's necessary before a marriage. Now, far too many people say, you know, what if it's not good? You gotta find out if it's gonna be good first, right? Granted, it's important. It's not the thing that you should be basing your decision to marry somebody off. And on top of that, even if it's bad or not, if the loving relationship and commitment is there should be no doubt about the state of the relationship based solely upon how good the sex is. And lastly, if this is the only person you've ever had it with, how could it possibly be bad? Since other people love to use the test driving cars analogy, what if this was the only car you had ever driven in your entire life? And before that, all you knew was riding horses. Wouldn't it be awesome regardless of whether it was a Bug or a Ferrari, since you don't even know the difference? Now, I know a lot of you will disagree with me on this one, and I'm not saying that it's bad or anything like that, but it's a decision that everybody has to make on their own, and it's a decision that everybody has to live with for the rest of their lives. And in my experience, I've heard a lot more people regretting not waiting long enough. And far, far less people, if any, regret waiting too long. So, go ahead, comments and questions below, and think about it. What's the rush?